get to work right now. Thursday, October 5th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. The Chicago Bears 0-4, 0-2 on the road at the Washington Commanders 2-2, 1-1 at home. We're at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. 72 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6 miles per hour is the weather. Let's get right into the line history here for this one. Again, we're going to be using Pinnacle lines, and Pinnacle doesn't drop them until the games are finished. So what we have here is a 6.5. The 6.5 was opened up heavily juiced to the Chicago Bears. Then there was a flip. The 6.5 yesterday was heavily juiced to the Washington Commanders. And we're talking heavily juiced. So it opens up at minus 116, gets up to minus 118 for the Bears. The next thing you know, it's minus 121, the 6.5. Minus 121 here for the Commanders. And then it flips right back to the Bears. Bears get up to minus 127 just 3 hours ago. They got up to minus 128 even. Right now they're sitting at minus 121. So 5 cents of movement at the plus 6.5 number. But if you look around, where are the other plus 6.5s? They're not there. All the other books are hanging 5.5s. Pinnacle hanging at 6.5. Let's go into the total for this one. This total sitting at 44.5, and it's heavily juiced to the under. This total opened up at 44.5 and immediately went up to 45.5, but it only lasted there for, I guess it lasted there for about 12 hours. So it lasted there for 12 hours before it went down to 44.5, which is where it is right now. And it is juiced to the under. Let's take a look at the Tuesday cash flow for this one. Again, this game pops off in almost exactly 48 hours. 47% of the tickets and 50% of the cash on the Bears. You know, it's a bum fight. And now I know the Commanders, if you watch them against the Eagles, you could say, no, they're not bums. But if you watch them against the Bills, you could say, I know they're bums. From the total side of things, we have 63% of tickets and 69% of cash on the over. Andrew House says the Commanders win by a tutty. Terry Walker says Washington or nothing. Markel and Sammy say pass. They don't want it. They don't want it. Bears come in off their 14th straight loss, a wild 31-28 setback at home to the Broncos. On the bright side, it's the best that their offense has looked all season. They were up 28-7 with a minute left in the third quarter. They lost despite outgaining the Broncos 471-311, 160 more yards. They got 26 first downs compared to Denver's 17. Justin Fields, 28-35 for a career-high 335 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran 4 times for 25 yards. He did lose a fumble, but you have to imagine that his confidence is high. He completed his first 16 passes. DJ Moore caught 8 of them for 131 yards and a touchdown. That's exactly what they thought about when they traded for him. Cole Kmet caught 7 passes for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. Khalil Herbert was a boss. 18 carries for 103 yards while catching 4 passes for 19 yards and a touchdown. Looks like Chase Claypool may have played his last game in the Bears uniform. I'm embarrassed that he is from Abbotsford, which is about an hour away from where I grew up. I am embarrassed with his actions and his beacon. Just shut up. You're on a losing team. Play hard, keep your head down, and play hard. Shut up. What an idiot. Bears struggled to develop a pass rush, finishing with 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits. They couldn't get stops when they needed it most, and it's their secondary. We're going to be talking about it through this breakdown. We're going to be talking about it until they get healthier. Already without Kyler Gordon, who's on the IR with a broken hand. They're also missing defensive backs Eddie Jackson and Jalen Johnson, and it hurts them badly. The Commanders come in off a tough 34-31 overtime loss at Philadelphia. It's okay. I can say it. I'm being wrong about Sam Howell. Now, when you say negative things about a quarterback, and then the only times you bet him, he's terrible, maybe that's the karma that you deserve. But he had a strong game on Sunday, 29-41 for 290 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 6 times for 40 yards. This came a week after he threw 4 interceptions and was sacked 9 times. The offensive line gave him time to throw. And when he has it, he's got gamers. Scary Terry caught 8 for 86. Curtis Samuel caught 7 for 51, but still dealing with the quad injury. So he's not going to practice this week. He's going to be listed as questionable, but I expect him to be in the lineup. Then you have Jaden Dotson doing the same thing. He's dealing with an ankle injury. He's not going to be practicing this week. I'm not quite as confident in Dotson as I am with Samuel that they'll both be in the lineup. Brian Robertson Jr. had 14 carries for 45 yards. The offense was 8 of 17 on third down and 2 of 2 on fourth down. 4 of 5 in the red zone against the Eagles. The defense struggled to get stops. The very dangerous front seven did manage to sack Hurts 3 times and hit him 8 times. And defensive back Jartavius Martin suffered a thumb injury. And also, Christian Holmes did not play as he's dealing with a back injury. So those are two defensive backs. Take it away for us here, Troy. Do you find an angle? Do you see an angle for our Thursday nighter at FedEx Field, Bears Commanders?
Yes, I do. I have an angle in this game. I have some action, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I mistimed my read. I heard you talking, made me think about how I mistimed my read on Sam Howell. A perfect example of when and when not to buy a quarterback like Sam Howell. They went on the road versus the Broncos, massive comeback, massively overperformed. That's when you sell them. I got it wrong. They got trounced by the Bills. At home, they get killed by the Bills. 4 picks, 7 sacks. That's when you want to buy them. Sure enough, they definitely covered the spread last week. And if you look at the advanced metrics, they would say the Commanders should have won that game. And I actually watched that full game. I think that those advanced metrics were right. So I was lucky to squeeze out that teaser, and that's how I feel. Bears overperformed versus the worst defense in the NFL, a historically bad defense. And I'll get into some specific metrics later because I'm fading the Broncos this week to be outright with it. 2 conflicting narratives in Chicago make it difficult for me to really pinpoint exactly what's going to happen here, because Bears tanking gets them the first and second round draft picks if they just tank it from here. And I don't see why they wouldn't want to do that at this point, looking how bad things are. But on the other side, you got Fields and the coaching staff that are fighting for their jobs. And I tend to think that they're going to fire this coach anyway. So I'm not sure how much that really matters. And if the Bears can't pressure Sam Howell, I mean, the Commanders should be able to take advantage of this terrible Bears defense, the worst pass rush in the NFL. And that doesn't pair well with the defensive secondary that's beat up and not good in the first place, or at least have underperformed at the very least. And you got Commanders on the other side with a great pass rush. And I just think, I just cannot see the Bears winning this game. When I start to look at some of the advanced metrics on the Bears defense and just the Bears in its entirety, I think we're lucky to get under a touchdown. However, the line movement at this point is starting to make me think of the Lions game in week 2, where I had a similar spot. I was on the Lions. I took a loss with them. I took a massive loss in week 2. And it was, this line is looking a lot like how that one was moving, down under the 6 into the 5.5, except for I really am not a believer in the Chicago Bears. I think that they want to tank this season. It only makes sense at this point to tank this season. And the only difference in this game from that first corollary spot with the Lions is that the Commanders are coming off a loss. The Lions were coming off a win against the defending champs on the road. I think there's a fine line there. So I played the Commanders in a teaser. That's my first leg, and the next leg is coming up soon.
All right, Troy has the Commanders in a teaser. For those of you who are sitting here saying, slam Washington, I truly believe the only thing that really angered me this past week was that I wanted the Titans and I wanted the Cowboys, and I got talked off them. I certainly wasn't on the other side, but you talk about the, buy low, sell high spot, and we're going to hammer it home all the time. You could say that this is a sell high spot on both of these teams because they both looked good last week. But the Bears played the Broncos and the Commanders played the Super Bowl finalist Eagles. I do not want the Commanders after looking so good. Not a chance. This is not where I want them. Not where I want them. In saying that, I get what Birdie's talking about. If the Bears secondary is weak, if the Bears are incapable of putting pressure on Howell's going to be able to put up numbers. So, of course, why is the total at 44.5? Why? How many points did these two teams put up last week?
20. The Bears aren't going to score very many points this week.
I agree, but the bias of what we just saw is in effect. These teams put up a combined 59 points last week, and this total is at 44.5. Now, the first move was to the over. And then it came back. And I need to, I'm sitting here, my record's up there, and I'm frustrated. I want to attack spots that I have a ton of confidence in. This just does not appeal to me. Yes, the over is in my head because I just watched them put up all these points. The market is telling me that they're opening up their arms to over cash. I do not want the Commanders. I'm not going to ever bet a team after a great performance, and that's what we just saw. And
A
that's
loss,
that.
so a losing effort.
Yes,
a team
but
going home with 2 consecutive losses. Yeah, I get you though. I totally understand. I wish we didn't start with this game, to be honest. But
and the Commanders are your 6-point teaser here. So what did you get them at?
I got it at minus 0.5, so a half point.
Minus 0.5. All right. Jerry Beatty says Washington still has a hell of a defense. Do they? Because if you were playing Madden, you'd think so. But you're watching these guys week in and week out, and you're like, is this the most dangerous group of that front four? I mean, they certainly are superstar names. Are they playing like superstars? No. So, all right.
But they're going up against some minor leaguers on the offensive line. But it's okay. I know. I get the sentiment here. I do.
I can't. I mean, yes, the over makes sense, and yes, Washington makes sense, and I stopped myself from that. It just doesn't correlate and doesn't work for me, and that sucks. So, people watching this video wanting to see a pick. These aren't just picks. We're betting them, and our life depends on us succeeding. So, thank God Troy's got a teaser spot because I ain't got shit.